The words were meant to embarrass me. That much was clear. She didn't whisper them. She didn't say them privately. She looked right at me, smiled in front of everyone, and said, "Go home if you're jealous." People laughed. She expected me to laugh too. What she didn't expect was that I would take her seriously. My name is Aaron. I'm 38 years old, and this happened on a night that quietly ended my marriage. We were at a work event of hers, a networking mixer at a rooftop bar downtown. Music was playing, drinks were flowing, and everyone was pretending to be more confident than they actually were. My wife, Nicole, fit in perfectly. She was charming, outgoing, laughing easily, moving from group to group like she belonged everywhere at once. I stood nearby, holding a drink I hadn't touched, watching her laugh a little too hard at another man's jokes. His name was Ryan, a coworker. I'd met him once before. Friendly, handsome, the kind of guy who knew exactly how to make people feel seen. He leaned in close when he talked, too close, and Nicole didn't step back. I didn't say anything at first. I didn't want to be that guy, the insecure husband. I told myself I was overthinking it. But then Ryan touched her arm, just briefly, and she smiled. That's when I leaned in and quietly said, "Hey, could you maybe give us a minute?" Nicole turned to me, annoyed. "What's your problem?" "I'm not trying to start anything," I said calmly. "I just feel uncomfortable." She laughed, actually laughed. Then she looked at Ryan, then back at me, and said loudly enough for people nearby to hear, "Go home if you're jealous." There it was. The sentence that changed everything. A few people laughed awkwardly. Ryan raised his eyebrows like this was entertaining. Nicole took a sip of her drink, confident, smug, waiting for me to feel small. For a second, I almost did. Then I nodded. "Okay," I said. She blinked, "Okay." "I'll go home," I repeated. I handed her my glass, picked up my jacket, and walked toward the elevator without looking back. I could feel eyes on me. I didn't care. Something inside me had gone quiet. On the ride down, my hands were shaking, not from anger, but from clarity. I realized how often I'd swallowed my feelings to avoid conflict, how many times I'd been made to feel unreasonable for wanting basic respect. When I got home, the apartment felt different, still, honest. I sat on the couch and stared at the wall, replaying the moment over and over. I didn't text her. I didn't call. I wanted to see what would happen next. She came home 2 hours later. The door slammed. "What the hell was that?" she demanded, dropping her purse. "You told me to go home," I said calmly, "so I did." "That was a joke," she snapped. "You embarrassed me." I stood up slowly. "No, you embarrassed me in public." She rolled her eyes. "You were acting jealous and controlling." "I was expressing discomfort," I said. "There's a difference." She crossed her arms. "So what, you're just going to leave every time something makes you uncomfortable?" I looked at her and said, "I'm going to leave when I'm disrespected." That stopped her. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Not angry, just confused, like she didn't expect me to stand my ground. "Ryan is just a coworker," she said. "You're making it into something it's not." "Then why was it so easy to mock me instead of reassuring me?" I asked. She didn't answer. That night, we slept in separate rooms. Over the next few days, the tension didn't fade. It grew. She accused me of overreacting. I accused her of crossing boundaries. We talked in circles, saying the same things in different ways. Then she said something that finally made everything clear. "You used to trust me more." I replied, "You used to respect me more." Silence. A week later, she admitted she liked the attention, that it felt good to be admired, that she didn't mean to hurt me, but she also didn't want to give that up. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about one night. It was about how replaceable she thought I was. I didn't yell, I didn't threaten. I simply said, "I don't want to be in a marriage where my feelings are a joke." She cried. She said she didn't think I'd actually leave. She said she thought I'd cool off and move on like always. But that night, something changed. When someone tells you to go home because you're jealous, what they're really saying is, your feelings don't matter here. So I packed a bag. Not dramatically, not angrily, just quietly. When she realized I was serious, her tone changed. She apologized. She said she was wrong. She said we could fix things. I believed her regret, but I also believed the pattern. I moved out the next morning. We tried counseling. We tried talking. But respect, once broken publicly, doesn't glue back together easily. 6 months later, we separated officially. Sometimes I think back to that moment at the bar. If she had lowered her voice, if she had said, "I understand," if she had chosen respect instead of pride. But she didn't. She told me to go home if I was jealous. And that night I finally listened. Not because I was jealous, but because I was done begging to be treated like a partner.